I know. She's the sweetest lady too.
All right, welcome everyone. With it being right at 6 o'clock, we're going to get started. Jolene, if you would please take roll call.
Council members Erickson,
Here.
Larson,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Valento,
Here.
Mayor Roberts.
Here, and if you're able, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. Our first item here, the awards and presentations. We do not have any of those this evening. The sixth item here is open. Oh,
Number 4.
sorry. We need to approve tonight's agenda. So is anyone interested in making a motion?
Also move.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda. All right, so no awards and presentations, and then we'll go to open forum. This is an opportunity for anyone to speak, come up and speak to any city-related matter. Keep your comments relatively brief to around 3 minutes. When you approach the podium, please state your name and address. And the first person we have this evening is Don Ship.
And Mr. Mayor, would you want to just clarify that this is not the time to address the budget?
Correct. So you have your choice. I guess you have a choice. If you wanted to speak to the budget, you can do it during this open forum. We do have up to a time once we after we have the presentation of the budget to speak at that point as well.
My official address is Wills Point, Texas. My name is Donald E. Ship. My wife and I own and operate a hangar at the Forest Lake Airport. For the last 42 years, I've been a licensed commercial pilot, certified flight instructor, and airline transport pilot. I've accumulated over 30,000 hours of flight time. All that I do is visit airports for a living. Professional pilots follow rules or they lose their job. The city of Forest Lake has violated hangar owner contracts. In 2016, MnDOT Aeronautics offered the city of Forest Lake a grant of 90% funding in order to pave the grass runway. Certain city council members wanted hangar owners to help pay for the project. Ultimately, the Airport Commission recommended an extra fee scheduled to be paid by hangar owners. The city council adopted it. The problem, it was a contract violation. Every year since 2016, the city of Forest Lake has been advised about a contract violation that occurred between the years of 2016 and 2020. Some people only paid for certain years. Their outstanding balances were removed. Those hangar owners who paid the extra fee for those 4 years were never repaid. The net effect is that the city has now charged certain hangar owners differently. That is a clear case of discrimination. Discrimination by municipalities is illegal. MnDOT Aeronautics has now offered a 90% grant to add 300 feet of paved surface to the existing runway. If exercised, the 10% investment would reap a 900% return on investment. 300 feet of additional paved surface adds safety, utility, and actually reduces total noise around the airport. Hangar owners pay rent on a square footage basis, and the rent increases may rise to the limits of the Consumer Price Index. At the recent Airport Commission meeting, there was talk about charging hangar owners additionally other than using the Consumer Price Index. The contract clearly states, rent adjustment shall be reasonable. An increase in rates based upon the Consumer Price Index shall be considered reasonable. Hangar owners have no control over operating expenses at the airport. Hangar owners simply lease the land for their hangars at the public airport. All private hangars at the Forest Lake Airport were constructed at absolutely no cost for the city. Hangar owners pay rent and property taxes annually. I recommend taking advantage of the 90% grant. I recommend operating within the limits of the ground lease contracts. I highly encourage you to read the ground lease contracts for the airport, focus on the area of rent. I'm willing to help the city of Forest Lake any way that I can. Good business is a win-win for all participants. If the city of Forest Lake follows all of the rules, unity will be restored. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Gary Lee.
I'm Gary Lee, and I'm officially live in a suburb of Forest Lake called Columbus. Anyway, thanks for your time tonight. And I represent Act on Alzheimer's Lakes area tonight. And we are an organization that started about 10 years ago. And our purpose is to educate the Forest Lake community and primarily the business community about the dementia and the effects that it would have on your customers and how to treat the customers. And we started with a business survey about 10 years ago. And that told us that there was a real lack of information and education knowledge about dementia within the city and within the businesses. And so that's why we took that direction and began doing educational sessions. We did videos showing examples of how to treat them and that type of thing. And however, much of the education falls on deaf ears unless you have a personal experience with dementia. But what's happening in today's world is that there's a larger and larger number of dementia patients that don't want to just stay home. They want to go out in the community. And so the community needs to be educated about them. But I'm guessing that the majority of the people here either know a friend who had dementia, a family member that had dementia, or just a community member that had dementia and probably didn't know how to react to it. So with these things in mind, our organization has partnered with an organization called Family Means. And Jenny West is here. They are working actively to expand their services within Forest Lake. So I'll turn it over to her and let her explain those things.
Thank you, Gary. My name is Jenny West. I'm the community educator at Family Means in our Caregiving and Aging department. Family Means is located in Stillwater. However, we serve all of Washington County. And for several years, we've been working on trying to bring services and exposure around dementia up into the Forest Lake area. About 2018, we started a memory cafe in Hugo. And this past February, we partnered with the YMCA and are offering a group respite for individuals who have been diagnosed with any kind of a dementia diagnosis. And they meet every Tuesday from noon to 4 at the Y. And we have one that's working, we have one developed in Stillwater, and now we're branching up into Forest Lake because we see that the drive even down to Stillwater is even long. And so we, Family Means, are working with Gary and the ACT on offering dementia-friendly at-work trainings to get that education around dementia out into the public and to start having those conversations. So we appreciate that opportunity to bring that education up here in Forest Lake.
And it's intended for businesses, not only businesses, but churches, other organizations, whether it be the Lions or the Masons or whatever, to invite Jenny to participate, and she would come to a business meeting or a training session that your employees would have or whatever, just to teach more about it so that all of as many as we can, Forest Lake residents have a better understanding of what to do when you're interacting with someone with dementia. So she's available.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Dean Lopez mentioned standard city business. I don't know if you are talking towards the budget or if you want to speak now, it's up to you. You're up there, you might as well.
Yes and no. Hi, my name's Dean Lopez. I lived in, city of Forest Lake now, since 1970, where it used to be the township, Forest Lake Township, and I've seen a lot of changes, but there's always one problem that keeps coming up. Every time something has to be done, we're always the last to get any kind of service. I'll give you guys a hint. When you guys said taxing everybody for the storm sewers, okay? I asked them, why I'm getting taxed for storm sewer? Well, storm sewer for water runoff. I go, my water can't run off. And you guys goes, why? Because you guys filled in the ditch. It just lays on the ground. A couple years later, you guys came out and dig the ditch. I remember one time where the road between the two little lakes washed out. Forest Lake did their one side, Yugo didn't do their side. We got a neighbor that was changing the road grade, called up about that, and they said, and plowing our road, because there's only 2 people in Forest Lake that live on that side, and the other 3's on Yugo. And I came up to Forest Lake here, and you guys told me, you have a contract with Yugo, so I gotta go talk to them, and I'm going, well, I pay my taxes in Forest Lake, not Yugo. And me and the other neighbors, we had to go straighten out that deal. And then they put the wrong gravel in the road, and they had to change that, we had to fight that. They wouldn't plow our ditches, cut the grass, and we had to argue about that. But then you guys try to charge me for a street light that I didn't have. It was on Yugo's side, and it was a private farm light. It just seems that I keep getting taxed for everything, but I don't get the I don't get the service for it. And you guys tell me I can't do this with my land, can't do that. I was gonna replace a fence line. Then you said I had to get a permit, and I go, so you okay it? I say, if I'll put the fence here, you okay it, then I'm legal. Then you guys go, oh no, if it ain't, we're just giving you the permit, we're not saying it's legal or not. And I'm going, but yet you guys wanna hit me with a fee. Okay, I can see having a fee for some things, but I really don't get no benefits for anything that I do here. Because, I got 27 acres, can't divide it, you want this, and you say, well, I'm in Forest Lake. Why can't I do city lots then, or build 3 or 4 houses? Oh, we got you a light agriculture now. And, it just keeps like, I got the land, but I can't do anything with it. Not that I want to develop it, I like it the way it is, but it always seems like I can't do anything or this, but then you guys will let a developer build a cluster of houses. And I'm just trying to say, so what's the difference if I wanted to do a cluster of houses on my land? Point I'm trying to make, it seems like I'm paying taxes here, but all I'm getting it back is I can't do this, I can't do that. Because I try to build a little walk on little bridge over a little stream that I have. And right away, they're up there, oh, I can't have that. I go, well, this guy's blocking a main stream where you can take a boat through. It was all right for them, and this is in Forest Lake too. I just don't get why, if I have the land, you guys want to tax for me for this, that. Why can't I just do stuff on my land? Like, if I wanted to build 3 houses on that 27 acres, why can't I be more taxes for you guys? But the main point is, every time there's an issue on this little road here, or anything goes wrong, you guys may rate the taxes up quick, but the service down there is really bad. Now lately, it's been getting a lot better. We got new neighbors down there, and I told you, yeah, well, the neighbor was trying to, to get the crown in the road, so, well, he wanted that flat and going the other way so it didn't go towards his house. So I guess they were watching him to fine him for the road if he changed it again, but it seems like, my taxes are getting paid in Forest Lake. Every time I had an issue, city of Forest Lake won't do anything. I had to go fight it down, and then you go all the time. Could you guys have a deal with them? And our road that we have, my brother was a quadriplegic, so I always needed them roads cleaned quick, after heavy snow. And usually I had to go there with my skid loader to make a path to get my van out of there if I had to take them anywhere. And I'm just saying, if I'm going to be taxed here in Forest Lake, I should get the same service that Forest Lake residents are getting, and I shouldn't have to go see why Yugo's not getting this road plowed. But through the years now, it's a lot better, but I'm just saying, that little piece of area of that road that only got 2 residents on there, that's in Forest Lake side, and the other 3 on the Yugo side, we kind of get missed a lot there, like, it's always the last road to get plowed. I mean, it is getting plowed now, but I'm just saying, It's always the last of the road to get upgrade. I had to go argue about them that, hey, if Forest Lake is cutting the ditch grass, I'm gonna say twice a year, I expect to get it cut twice a year too, because I'm paying the taxes for it. And I know for a while they weren't doing it, but I'm just saying, then I got the thing how you're raising my taxes up again, I'm going, what benefits I'm getting from you guys? I'm not getting any benefits, but I'm getting a lot of headaches from you guys. Like I said, I've been here since 1970, and I'm trying to pass the farm on to my nephews and all that, but yeah, there's just a lot of problems in that deal. Now I see you guys raise my taxes up again, $195. I'm just trying to say, what benefits I'm really getting from all this, I mean, yeah, you gotta raise taxes, I give you guys that, but I just can't see where it's benefiting me as a whole, or through the years, I could talk for hours about all the stuff I've seen, and how, like, ever since it went from the township to the city, how much less we got for being into the city than what the township was. So I just want to kind of give you guys think a little bit about why is this area so overlooked, like I said, I'm just using a storm sewers. Charge me for storm sewers for mine on my land. And if I didn't tell them that you guys buried the ditch, you guys wouldn't have done anything about it. I don't know if that was Hugo or Forest Lake. And I was trying to tell them the grade of the ditch, and they go, no, once I go 3 feet down, there's a culvert underneath our driveway. And they go, how you know that? I was a young man when they put it in. And they dug down there, oh my gosh, there's a culvert. I go, that was the grade of the ditch that you guys buried, so I'm just kind of ticked off that, you're raising my taxes again, and all through the years, I see no benefits to it. Maybe you guys can explain it to me on your budget and all that, but I just want you guys to back of your mind, take notice, go, why is this area here had so much problem? Because it's at the edge of everybody's border. I got Hugo, Forest Lake, and Scandia. So it's kind of like the farthest corner, a mile from Big Marine Lake there, it's just at the edge of everything. I would like to have you guys pay a little bit more attention to that little section, because at one time we had 3 handicapped people living in that area, now they're all gone, but I'm just saying, I would like to have you guys pay a little bit more attention in that little strip and go, hey, yeah, it's small, maybe a mile. There's only 2 Forest Lake people that live there, but it's shared with Hugo. We shouldn't have to go fighting to see when the road's gonna get plowed, if they're gonna fix that. How about that neighbor's out there with his tractor changing the road grade? I shouldn't have to, like, go, well, take pictures of it. I'm going, why should I have to take pictures where you can come down and see what the guy's doing? So I just wanted to kind of bring that up to you guys, on this section, on that 170 where I'm on. Through the years, all this problem I've been having, not just me, but everybody else there, but, and I'm just going, now you're raising my taxes up for the city, $195. I'm going, what for? Because I haven't seen no advantage from going from the township to the city. So I saw the taxes went up when it went for the city from the township. And to be honest, frankly honest with you, I get less service now because it's the city of Forest Lake than it was the township, And that's basically it, because I'm just saying, I'm just getting tired of this area getting overlooked all the time. And maybe we can have it where the Forest Lake's responsible for that part of the road. I don't know, could you turn right off to the side of us all the time? Just want to get in the back of your heads that, hey, might be a little area that we might have to take a look into and see what's going on. But I will say that it's a lot better than it was before, but it took a long time to get it that way.
Well, Mr. Lopez, I appreciate you coming this evening. Maybe Administrator Stotts, maybe staff could reach out and get some clarification on some of these concerns, and we can address them.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for coming this evening. Nadine Cedarholm, Nadine, do you want to speak now or to the when the hearing for the taxes? Yes. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Anyone else interested in coming up this evening? that, just talk non-tax or budget. We'll have that opportunity afterwards, or a little later. All right, so we have, council, we have a consent agenda in front of us. Is
And Mr. Mayor, if I could interject real quickly here. As you noted, over the, since the original agenda came out, we did add a couple of items. One of those was item O, and it was a consultant contract with McDonald Hopkins for cybersecurity. I want to note that we're adding an additional contract. In my memo, I said that McDonald Hopkins would have a subcontractor that would do some of the technical work. I was incorrect in that, and that they would like to contract directly with us, and that firm is, Arate is how you pronounce it, and it's in front of you tonight. It's a contract that's been vetted through the League of Minnesota Cities. League is covering our costs on this, and so I would ask that that item simply reflect that the consultant contract will be with McDonald Hopkins and Arate, so there'll be two different contracts there.
Thank you. All right, with that, anyone willing to make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items 7A through 7Q.
Motions are second?
I'll second it.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have our consent agenda. All right, item 8A will be the beginning of our regular agenda. With the first item is a truth and taxation hearing, but we are going to have our finance director, Ellie Larkin, go through this year's budget.
As Ellie approaches the podium here to present, I'll just kind of set us up a little bit. What Ellie's going to go through is partly required by statute, so some of the things that are in her presentation are things that state statute requires us to cover tonight, so if you're wondering about some of the elements, that might be where they're coming from. And what she's going to walk us through is both what the preliminary budget that was adopted, or the preliminary levy that you adopted in September, and then what our current proposal is, and that's based on all the workshops we've had and some of the discussions we've had since September to, in an effort to lower that final levy, reminding us all that the preliminary levy sets the high bar, so we cannot go above that tonight. We can only lower that amount. So again, you'll see two presentations or two scenarios tonight. You'll see the 12.59% that was adopted in September, and you'll see the kind of current staff and council proposal at 7.9%. So what everyone's mailing was based on was the 12.59. So if, as the gentleman mentioned earlier, he had a dollar amount that he saw on a statement, that is what was, that number was based off the September number. So from there, I'll let Ellie take it over.
Great, thanks.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and citizens of Forest Lake. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ellie Larkin. I am the finance director here with the city. As Mark mentioned, some of the things we will be going through tonight are requirements by the state, and that will include a summary of the 2026 budget, a proposed levy, and then provide an opportunity for public comment. This comment will happen once the presentation is completed. So as our citizens walked in, you received a packet that really walked through in detail the budget timeline. And so with the creation of a budget, the council adopts a schedule in April. And so through that, there has been numerous meetings, numerous guidance provided from both council and residents about where they would like the direction of the budget to go to. We sought input through workshops and meetings, along with opening up a budget survey to the public. A bulk of those survey responses talked a lot about how public safety is a top priority for our community, and you will see that reflected as we walk through this budget. So when we talk about a levy, it's important to break down that that property levy is the tax dollars the city collects to provide the essential functions that serve each one of our residents. This includes standard items such as safety, streets, parks, and public safety. Then that levy is divided amongst properties. Each property pays the share based on the taxable value and the rate of their class. This then is broken down additionally through residents, through community development, through other dwellings. So apartment complexes have a different rate than a standard city home, and that's what goes into the breakdown of what your levy looks like. And as you'll see with most cities, as your population increases, your levy will also then increase with it because the amount of service you need to provide also then does increase. And so as Mark mentioned, that preliminary levy that came out on your tax statement was addressed at 12.59%. This reflects an average home value increase of $175.26 or a monthly increase of $1,460. It is important to note that since those property statements have went out, we've had numerous meetings and conversations as mentioned previously, and now we are going to walk through what is called the proposed levy.
Just on that previous slide, Ellie, if you, just to be clear, that bullet there that says yearly home average value increase, that's the increase in taxes on the average value home. So that's not the increase of the value of the home, that's the value, or that's the increase in taxes on that home, just to be clear about that.
And then when we look at it as our proposed levy at 7.9%, the average home value increase for the portion of property taxes you would pay would be $102.84, or a monthly increase of $8.57. And so as we looked at those two slides, you saw that those charts had a couple different items of what was included and what wasn't included. And to start the levy, we started at that 12.59%, and this included a deputy fire chief, a patrol sergeant, 2 additional patrol officers, a police admin assistant, and a public works position, along with standard increases to election, inflation, and to support our North Shore Trail bond. The city sees inflation a lot like all of our residents do, so that inflation comes with utilities and just the standard cost of doing business. The things that really then start to play in what offsets the levy would be that general fund contribution. And so when we look at that bottom part of this chart, what is labeled as the offset to general fund contributions, these would be the additional revenue associated with, as the top part of the chart reflects expenses. And so then as you walk across the chart, you'll see the next option that we presented and received feedback on was a levy set at 12.25%. And through conversation, the biggest change here is the removal of the patrol sergeant. This is not removing a sergeant that is currently in place, however, just not adding an additional one. This also includes keeping the deputy fire chief, our patrol officers, a police admin assistant, along with the public works position, our standard expenses, and then this also reflects an increase to franchise fees to offset the cost of the general levy. And then as we continue to work our way through our chart, you will see that those check marks turn into half circles with an asterisk, for lack of a better description. That reflects staff, those new positions starting February 1st versus starting 1/1. And this then allows us to not have to pay the cost of the staff for the entire year, allowing us to have additional cost savings. And then as we continue to work through the chart, you will see the bottom 2 line items are labeled as rollback capital equipment fund and use of the 2025 surplus to offset the levy. With both of these options included, we are able to bring the levy down to 7.9%, with the surplus of the 2025 budget offsetting the cost of the 2026 budget. So where does that tax levy go? And so when we break it down, we see that 36% of your tax levy goes. This includes police, fire, and building inspections. Forest Lake Fire Department receives 500 calls a year. Our police department takes roughly 20,000 calls a year, and buildings conduct approximately 3,500 reviews a year. When we look at what administration makes up, that includes managing all communications through the city, maintaining public records, supporting the city's human resources, IT support, liaisons between the staff, the council, and the citizens, along with maintaining and managing the city's budgets, supporting the Forest Lake Airport, and management of the senior center. And then when we look at that 7% for public works and 6% for parks, they maintain 130 miles of roads and sidewalks. That includes snow plowing, sweeping, and pothole patching, maintain 23 parks, 13 ball fields, 11 miles of trails, 3 ice rinks, and maintain all of the city buildings. They also support the city in Arts in the Park, 4th of July, Hometown Holiday, and coordinate many other activities and events. Economic development works to improve economic livelihood for all, provide long-range planning, development vision, and policy guidance, and they develop, administer, and enforce city code throughout the city. And then the 17% goes to support Forest Lake's outstanding debt and bonds that have already been issued, along with capital expenses to support park dedication, capital improvement, capital equipment, and our building maintenance fund, along with 1% going to EDA. So what does that all actually add up to? So this is a final overview of what the proposed property levy would look like. You can see, as we previously walked through, a bulk of those expenses, so our public safety dollars, our administration dollars, all go to support our general fund. You can see that is the largest budget driver the city has, along with support for park dedication, capital improvement, capital equipment, an EDA fund, and a building maintenance fund, along with our debt service. That brings our total levy that we would seek approval for to $17.7 million, with the adjustment of fiscal disparity bringing the levy impact to $16.13 million. So the major changes that we are seeing within our 2026 budget as compared to our 2025 budget is we are looking at increased revenues for franchise fees, police state aid, standard city fees and permits, and the general property tax. And for expenses, we are seeing increases across fire, police, and park maintenance. These increases go to support staff. And so as Mark mentioned earlier, when we talked about what that impact has on a standard home or a standard individual in Forest Lake, that top value of this chart reflects the current cost of a standard home, so that $390K. And so when we work our way through a chart, the original levy, as previously discussed, at that 12.59% showed a yearly increase to property taxes of $175.26. But through meetings, discussion, and public comment, staff is proposing a levy increase of 7.9%, or an annual increase of $102.88, or a monthly increase of $8.87. With that being said, property tax refund programs are available to all residents of the state of Minnesota. There are two major programs for refunds. These include regular property tax refunds through the circuit breaker, or specialty property tax refunds. And more information can be found on this at either our Forest Lake website or at the Department of Revenue. And they have information where you can call, and they have certain filing deadlines if that is an option. That is just an option available to residents. And so, Mr. Mayor, the next steps would be opening it up to public feedback and to a public comment period.
Thank you, Ellie. All right, at 6:32, we're going to open up the public hearing on taxation. And the first person that we have, is there another list, Jolene, for? Okay. If you did come in after we'd already had this sheet up, you're more than welcome to come up. The first one on the original list was Nadine Cederholm.
Good evening, thank you. We, of course, got our proposed taxes for next year. And I guess our question would be, who really figures the value of our home and who decides on that?
You want to weigh in on this?
Mr. Mayor, if you'd like me to respond. So there's a sort of a separate hearing held each year in terms of valuation. And so I believe it's in, I want to say May.
We hold our local Board of Appeal and Equalization meetings in April of each year.
Sure. So each year you'll get a sort of a proposed valuation set by the appraiser, and there's a hearing to come and debate whether or not that valuation is there. Once that valuation is set, this process to set the taxes is only based on that valuation. And so tonight's hearing is not to say that we can't discuss it, but it's not really at issue today. We can't change that value tonight.
Mr. Mayor, it's established by a county assessor, correct?
Yes, the county is, but the county is acting on our behalf. So some cities do have a private assessor, but it's all a standard practice across the board. And then the county still oversees that even when you have a private assessor. I believe we do use the county for that service, so, yeah.
Okay, so how can I contact somebody about that in
We could,
April?
city staff, Mr. Mayor, could certainly get residents in touch with the right folks there,
Okay,
yeah.
I can just call and find out.
Yeah, and so my experience and the council here, when you do have these, it's a one-on-one, you sit down with a council member and a member of the county staff and go through the evaluation. In a number of cases, they're willing to adjust that. So it's a,
To be clear, though, they would not be addressing this year's.
correct, it's for next, yes, for next year, yes.
It would be for 27.
Yes,
Yes.
taxes payable in 27,
Okay.
yeah.
So when, okay, I understand that, but, so I missed the time frame on this, for this coming year, per
Yes.
se.
Yes.
Okay. It's just that there's a couple, in our neighborhood, it's really diverse. We have newer homes, older homes, and across the years, we have one of the oldest homes. It's gonna be 100 years old next year. But there's a new house that has the value is a lot less and less taxes. So if we have an issue about this, then I need to wait till next year.
Till April, that would be
April of-
reflective on your 27 taxes.
Yeah, this coming April to
Yes.
talk about the 27. Okay, that's all I had to say. Thank you for your
Yeah,
time.
good seeing you, thanks for coming. All right, that's all we have signed up. Anyone else want to come up and speak on this year's budget? Sure, and if you would, again, just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Dean Lopez, once again, I live at 166, 180th Street North, Forest Lake. And talking about the budget, I just got a couple things I want to know. When you do the budget, you guys, in that budget is like insuring all the vehicles that the city has and all that, and insurance, all that's included in the budget? Okay, so it sounds like you're nodding, so that is. And then I'm just throwing this hypothetically out to you. So, like, how many people that we got from the city that use the city vehicles, take them home, like police cars and all that? Is there a number, like how many people are taking their vehicles home where we're paying for them, but yet they're driving them home from and to work? Is there any kind of number on that?
You know, to my knowledge, our police chiefs and our public works director, I think that's about it. And
Yeah, there is a stipend in my contract for a vehicle allowance. You don't necessarily pay for my vehicle, but I do have a vehicle allowance in my contract. I'm not aware of any other.
Okay, I just wanted to find out, that, but I got one other question to ask you guys. So when they take a city vehicle home that the city owns and they're paying insurance on it, and just say for some reason, I'm not slamming or criticizing anybody, I'm using this hypothetically, because it could happen. I'm not saying it is, but say that, I'll just use myself, for example, say, oh, I'm in the city, blah, blah, I get a car to take home, and I go on a bender, get in a big accident, injured, maybe even kill somebody. So is the city liable for that now, since they're in the city vehicle and you're having that city employee driving that vehicle, or is that covered on a different way? I'm just kind of wondering about that. What's the answer to that?
I'll let our attorney, Johnson, answer that.
Thank you, Your Honor, Counsel. In a situation where an employee is not engaged in their job, right, so they are not actively operating as a police officer, firefighter, whomever, and they are in a police, in this example, in a police vehicle, and in your example, they are doing something where they cause an accident, that is not a liability of the city's. That would be a personal liability for that individual.
But don't we have the vehicle insurance, not the driver? Because, you gotta have insurance on the vehicle, and it's gonna go, and I know insurance, because I was gonna be a guy agent. They're gonna go after that car who has the biggest policy. And it's
Yes.
gonna come back to the vehicle, especially if it's a city vehicle, it's
So-
coming back.
The city has the benefit of having immunity in those situations, right? There are certain laws that would prevent that individual from being able to sue the city.
No, I was just wondering how that go,
Yeah.
if that was to happen, if there was something to keep a clause from that happening.
Correct, yeah, we have governmental immunity essentially.
Okay, I was just kind of wondering how does that work when you see vehicles going from one thing and other, if something was like to happen,
And
who's
to-
stuck for it,
And to
you
be
know?
clear, I mean, these are individuals that are really on call almost 24/7, so they have to, show up for major events, police, fire, or public works, if something goes wrong there, storm, so that they have to be, they're really on call almost 24/7, so that's why those vehicles are allowed to them, so they can get back up here and have the equipment
Oh,
they
no, I was
need.
just kind of curious on what happens if something like that happened, because, I think in Wisconsin, they had a thing where deputy or chief of police or there was drinking and all that and had some kind of accident. You know, I was just kind of wondering what happens to when that does happen.
And
And just
maybe,
to make sure, I didn't say nobody here or
Right.
anything, you know, I was just kind of curious if the city would be liable for anything like that.
yeah, and I think, Mr. Lopez, when staff reaches out, if you have any of those specific individual questions on certain situations, they'd be able to help you out on those.
No, but, she answered my question. I was just kind of wondering about that. How does that go? But, well, once again, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just want to
You need to
thank.
state your name and address,
Yeah,
please.
oh, I
for the
do,
record.
okay. I'm Blake's wife, the mayor's wife, Siobhan Roberts, at 21018 Caroline Court. And just listening to Jacob Fry asking for a $46,000 raise to make $187,000 in Blake gives every day to the city. And he is in our best interest. So everyone who's on staff that gets paid, thank you. But when you guys do this, it's just out of your heart.
Yeah.
It's very appreciated.
It's a labor of love. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else would like to speak tonight on that? Come up, state your name, address.
My name is John Waller. I'm the Washington County Rice Creek Watershed District Manager. And annually, I come up here to visit you and talk about taxes. And so this year, Rice Creek will not be raising any of the taxes. Will be flat. Basically, we're going to spend $9 million, tax for $6 million, and we'll have $14 million at the 31st of this month. That magic trick is performed because we can dip into another tax called the grants and clean water funds. And so a good deal of our monies we put into in the plan, our water management plan project. We tax for that project, and we also apply for a grant for it if it qualifies. And we receive the grant money, we kind of have a surplus. An example of this would be the funds that we granted to the city of Forest Lake for the west side of Clear Lake. And that took many, many years. And of course, that money had been taxed some years ago, sat in the bank, and we collect a little interest. But this year, we'll have no increase in our taxes. Last year, I think if you took a look at your, Washington County has it itemized. Not all the counties do, Ramsey, for example, doesn't. And you'd see there might have been a slight decrease of a couple of dollars. So that's pretty much where we're at. Is there anything that you folks want me to take back to the watershed managers? I'd be glad to be your messenger. And also on Wednesday at 10 o'clock over in New Brighton in the community center will be our semi-annual meeting with our partners, the cities and the counties. So your staff usually comes. Mark has come for many, many years and always is, he's not shy. That's good.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wallner, for your service on the watershed. And, I appreciate the no increase. Maybe you could suggest that or give some advice to the other watershed in this city, because that is extremely, I think they were proposing at 23%, so increase.
Well, let me check here. We did have, down at the county every year, Mr. Mayor, the watershed districts are invited to come down and go to a workshop with the County Board. And Rice Creek was asked how we performed this magic trick of spending $9 million with only three, taxing for 6, and we don't borrow any money, by the way, at all. So we had to explain that. But alas, it was not. There was another watershed district who had to explain the same situation, but alas, it was not the one from Forest Lake. So thank you very much for your help, and good night.
Yeah, thank you. Right, anyone else like to come up?
Hello, my name is Jamie Deichman. I live at 56 7th Street Northwest. I have a few questions and maybe a few bones to pick. I'll start with the questions. 2 years ago, I'm going to use approximate numbers. 2 years ago, our budget was about $12.6 million for the city of Forest Lake, if I remember correctly. There was a $500,000 line item in our budget for park dedication. At that time, it was different mayor, previous mayor. But I asked at the budget meeting, where's $500,000 for park dedication? They said, well, it's in the 10-year plan. I looked on the internet. I looked on our Forest Lake website. Could not find that plan. Last year, we had $350,000, does that sound right, as park dedication? And now this proposal for the next year is $415,000. That's $1.2 million for a park dedication I still can't find. That's a lot of money. And, you know, we're all pretty much working class from this area. That's a lot of money. That's just for a park dedication. On top of that, according to the graph that was on the TV earlier, our population's gone up 1,008, something like that. It's not a whole lot more than it was 2 years ago, but we're talking about a $3.5–4 million increase in the yearly budget. That's a huge number. 12.6%, was that the number? It's on the bottom of the page. I should have brought it with me. That's a lot. And that doesn't include the proposal for new public works building that was possibly $50 million, 4 times our annual budget. You guys are spending money like the trees on Broadway. They look great, but they're gonna die just like the ones before them did because they get salt on them every winter. That was an $800,000 total project. You guys are spending our money so fast, and sometimes you got to. The cost of taking care of our police officers, our fire department, the equipment, I understand that. Those are expenses we don't like to pay, but we all understand them. We can get behind that. But you guys are just, what's $1.2 million going to do for another park? I just heard 23 parks. That's just going to increase more of our expenditures to keep maintaining another park. I still don't know where it is. Can any of you tell me where the next park that's going to be dedicated is going?
Well, Mr. Mayor, it's not for a new park, it's to maintain our current parks. Previous to what you saw, the budget a couple years ago, previous councils hadn't funded parks.
I specifically remember that parks was part of the budget. That was a separate item.
Might have been to the tune of like 50,000, 3–4 years ago. It's been years, if not decades, of not being properly funded. And so, well, it was proposed 2 years ago to be 500,000. That was one of the line items that we cut back at that point in time to not have as big a levy increase at that time. And so it's been inching upwards because we've got a backlog of park equipment that is outdated, broken, in desperate need of replacement. Their shelf life is like 20 years, and many of our parks are at that shelf life.
All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that explanation.
Absolutely.
So next up, where's the rest of that money going? I mean, I saw there was, we were hoping to get a new police sergeant and 2 more officers. Is our crime rate that high right now? I mean, 20,000, I heard her say 20,000 calls a year is what our police department's taking. Are those all responded to by an officer, or is that just the number of phone calls that comes in?
So Chief Peterson or Captain Hanegraaff, do you want to explain just the call volume and the number of officers in the last 10 years?
Yeah, so we have been responding to just about 20,000 calls a year, like you had mentioned. 10 years ago, we were responding to about 14,000 calls per year. So that has increased quite a bit. And we have not added any police officers in the last 10 years, not one.
How many are we at right now?
Right now, we're at 27. And then 3 civilian that are not sworn officers. And so, you know, and the calls for service have also become so complex now with also the, you know, mental health, those types of calls that we're going to. They sometimes can take, you know, anywhere from 5-10 minutes to a few hours to deal with those types of calls.
Well, I can't pick apart any of that, but again, just overall, you guys, I'm urging you, I'm begging you, start tightening the belt, because there's nowhere, every time we start spending another $2 million a year, $3 million a year, we might as well be living in the cities. You know, inflation's hitting us too. And every single one of these projects, while they're great individually, you know, yeah, God, it's not that much money. It's another park, it's this, it's that. You're nickel and diming us to death. So please, please, and it might be too late for 2026, but you're a stone's throw away from starting 2027's budget. You know, April 14th is that the right date? It's coming. It's going to be here soon. You know, keep this in mind when you start next year's, because if we don't start seeing decreases, we're all going to get priced out. Every one of us. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for feedback and coming tonight. Next person.
I am Diane Smith, and I'm at 9185 182nd Street. First of all, thanks for this opportunity to address you. This is wonderful. I just have a question, and I asked, is it Elle or Ellie? Elle? And so you were very sweet, by the way. Just to have a line item, when I'm looking at, and she helped direct me how to get to the budget and just look at the numbers and all of that. For Fund 101, Fund 203, Fund 205, et cetera, there are significant amounts here, and I just wondered if there's a line item, or we can just look. And the only reason I'm asking, I have complete faith in you, by the way, and I've met you before, Blake, so you and Jeff, or Leaf, right? Yeah. But my concern comes from Hennepin County Commissioner. You know, it's been in the news, and I'm sure you're very well aware of that, and they are spending on outrageous things, and it's frightening to see that can even happen. So I know residents are not pleased, and whatever can happen in one city, it can certainly happen in another. So I just think, for transparency's sake, and maybe you already have it, I would like to find how to just look so I can sleep at night and say, oh, look, here's how they're spending it, because things do cost money, things are expensive, and so my trust is with you, but I just think it would be nice to see line item. So does that already exist? Like, for example, like he said, the Park Dedication Fund, you know, General Fund, Capital Equipment Fund, Project Development Fund, things like that.
Want to comment on that?
Yes, so that does exist. My contact information is on the city website. If you go under the Finance tab, you will see my lovely headshot, and then you will see an email link. If you click that email link and you send me this request, I will be able to pull it for you. I do not have it offhand tonight, but it is a public document. These are your taxpayer dollars, and I am more than willing to even sit down with you and walk through it with you.
Okay, I appreciate that. And there may be people at home that don't know how to navigate to get to this place where I am, and it takes having a conversation, so I really appreciate that. But I do know the average Joe will not. So maybe it's just a way to make it a little more user-friendly on here, you know, just a click away, maybe like hyperlink these funds, and then that will just take you right to it.
Perfect. And then when budget docs do get finalized, we will update the Finance tab, and it will have all of this information as well. And so that will be a little bit more user-friendly, but we'll certainly look at it.
Okay, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may comment, for your benefit as well as the previous speakers, those dedicated funds, and even like the park dedication fund, some of that, and we've gotten a lot of feedback of, hey, fund, it's like save money, right? Save money before you spend it. And so that's what some of these expenditures are for, is even though we're not having the outlay today, we're building up necessary funds to afford some of these upcoming expenses. And that's what our 10-year plan is all about, is kind of sequencing out when are we going to maybe change out some park equipment or new equipment and utilities or whatever. And so make sure as you're looking at that to also look at that 10-year plan so you can see what's been recommended by staff for council to consider of what do we need to replace when in the upcoming years. And that's what some of these dollars are being collected for, is to be able to afford those things in the future. So we're not taking on more debt or having spikes in tax levies.
Good point. Thanks for pointing that out. All right. Anyone else would like to speak this evening?
My name is David Rovang, 21380 Fondant Avenue here in Forest Lake. I'd just like to address the increase. You guys have each gotten a mailing from me as well, kind of reflecting what was in the Forest Lake Times here about outpricing people with taxes, not being able to afford it. And it's kind of this area wide. It was, I think it was Hannah, I think is the one that wrote that. And, the only reason why my tax proposed is only at 6.4% is because the other taxes increases, Washington County and ISD there virtually hardly any increase at all, where your portion of it, proportion would be about 13.5% this coming year. That's opposed to last year, the increase was about 25% on my property. And I know you all have said, well, we take in consideration what your estimated values were. Well, if your estimated values increase, then I expect that I will pay more, but I don't know that I would expect to pay that much more that I'm seeing. And maybe I don't understand what, Ellie, is that your name? We're talking about a close to 8% increase on your portion of it, the city's portion. I don't know pretty much anybody in this city. I think the average person is not getting an 8% increase in their wages and their salaries. And I personally am on a fixed income, which means Social Security, and we're talking about a 3% increase. And so you're almost at the, almost 3% higher. I'm sorry, 3 times higher than what I am getting proposed for next year Social Security increase. And to kind of reflect on something that was said last year by Congressman or Councilman Erickson, to say that I can go and get a state refund is pretty disingenuous, quite honestly. We all have to live within our means, and sometimes saying, something like that really doesn't reflect what the average person sees when he sees almost a 3-time, what we're going to get an increase. And I know that you guys are doing your best to keep everything down. I just don't understand how, with the increase, you said that the increase in the amount of people, maybe that hasn't been just recent. I don't know that. I don't know what the population has increased. You're saying, okay, we need more money to fund all these increases that we're getting in population. If that's the case, then where are those funds coming from? Their taxes they're paying into the city. That should also increase the total, you want to say income into, you know, the city's coffers at that point. That's, I guess, have a hard time understanding that, and you know, a lot of people, matter of fact, I'll even direct it a little bit to Blake. I've got people around me that have voted for you for mayor as opposed to the previous mayor because of your willingness to hold down expenditure increases, but we're in fact seeing, you know, increases. And I would have hoped that we would have seen a little bit closer to inflation rather than what we're seeing now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come up tonight to speak on the budget? Great. One last time, anyone else like to come speak on the 2026 budget? No one else coming forward. I will close the public hearing at 7 o'clock and we'll bring it back to council. All right, council, we have a resolution in front of us for the 2026 tax levy. Any comments or anyone want to share some thoughts? I appreciate, Ellie, the time that you put into this and explain everything to everyone, and Mark as well, and all the department heads, really.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor, council members, I guess I would like to add just a few comments. Ellie, staff, Mark, everybody in the city has worked very, very hard for all of you and for all of us to do the best we can to keep our taxes in line with what's going on in our state and other cities and counties in our state. The average in the state of Minnesota right now for tax increases is over 8.9%. When we went into this, we were pretty high, but we had to set our high level and we had to work backwards to cut as many things as we can to get our taxes down as low as we possibly can. None of us want to pay higher taxes either. We all live in this city, but we love this city, and we're going to do everything we can to make this city better. And with that comes lots and lots of infrastructure improvements that have been neglected for years and years and years. Parks that have been neglected for years and years and years. Our staff has been working with a skeleton staff for years. Our police, our fire, everybody has been working very hard for all of you and for all of us, but we've been way understaffed. We have infrastructure in our city that is falling down. Our public works buildings are probably the most unsafe buildings we have, and they're falling down. Yet we continue to use them. So I just want to compliment everybody here on this panel, on this council, and everybody in the city for the hard work they've done. And I think getting this down from where we started to 7.9% is an incredible feat in order to provide all of you with all the services you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Miller. I'll just add a few things here. It did start, the 10-year plan called out for it to be at 16.4%. We set that high mark levy at 12.59%. We continue to push back on things, cutting things, to get it down to 9.25, and then to ultimately where we're at today at 7.9. Councilmember Miller made a lot of good comments, and I agree with him. There is infrastructure in this city. So there's some pipe that we have to replace here in the next year or two that we're already putting money towards. That's 100 years old. Forest Lake is a very conservative community, and we want to keep it that way, but we also need to start spending some money on things that we should have done a number of years ago. North Shore, we finally did $4.5 million. That road probably should have been done 7 years ago, and it probably would have been a third of that cost or 2/3 of that cost. And so this council and the previous council has done a nice job of trying to keep everyone's taxes reasonable enough, but yet investing in the community. It's, you know, in business or anything else, you have to spend money to make money. When I say make money on the city side of things, it's bringing more people to the community, more businesses. And so with that, I just want to thank staff for being agreeable to pushing back on some of these things. I think this is a very good budget that still allows to be fiscally conservative, but allows us to invest in this great city. And so with that, I would make a motion that we approve tonight's 2026 budget resolution 12082503, approving the 2026 tax levy and adopting the 2026 budget.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item. 8B, certification of delinquent utility accounts. And Ellie.
Good evening, Mayor and council members again. So tonight in front of you, you have for approval the certification of the 2025 delinquent utility accounts along with other fees. Every year, the City of Forest Lake will bring forward to the council a list of the delinquent utility accounts in accordance to Minnesota State Statute 444.075. And this statute allows the City of Forest Lake to assess any unpaid utility accounts to the following year's property tax. Within that, we are also able to assess a fee on top of what is outstanding. In order for us to get to this process, the city is required to mail out letters to anyone who has an outstanding account laying out how much is left, what their due date is, and what happens if those accounts don't get assessed. And on top of that, we are also required to post it in the paper announcing that if anyone does have any questions, comments, or concerns about their utility accounts, tonight is the night to come and speak in front of the council at the public hearing that will happen when I am done talking about our delinquent utility accounts. This year, something new to the City of Forest Lake that we are able to do with our new code enforcement officer is also assess any unpaid code fees. We are able to do that through Minnesota State Statute 429.101. And so as you will see within your packet, there are 4 columns. The first column notes your total late utility columns, and then the next one is your total utility bill. You will see that that is increased, and that is with the fee that the city is allowed to charge under ordinance 181 and 408. And then you will see there's a code enforcement column and then your total column. This is because when the city does assess these 2 property taxes within Washington County, we are required to only allow 1 per parcel. And so each one of those individual totals are broken down in accordance with Minnesota state statutes and what is allowed by city ordinances. If the council doesn't have any questions regarding the list or what was just presented to them, I would recommend, Mayor, to open up for public comment.
With that, at 7:07, we will open up the public hearing on delinquent utility accounts and other unpaid fees. Is there anyone here this evening wanting to come up to speak to this? I'll ask again, is anyone interested in coming up to speak to this issue? 7:06 or 7:08, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Questions, thoughts, concerns? So I just, first couple years on council, I was amazed about this number. It's $300-some thousand. Out of that 300-some thousand, in history, and I don't know really who to ask here because we're all relatively new staff, is like what, if it was about the same last year, are we still working on trying to collect these, or once they're assessed to the property, is collection then stop?
Correct.
It does.
I would say when my staff originally sent out the letters, the number was closer to $500,000. And so the effort staff is making at our utility billing level did bring in additional probably $100,000 to $200,000 that did not have to be assessed. And so when we do take those steps, we see that number decrease.
But then after this is put on there, then we're not collecting it. Any other thoughts or questions? Great, anyone interested in making a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 1208-2504, ordering the certification of unpaid utility charges and other fees pursuant to Minnesota Statute 444.075, Division 3E in Minnesota Statute 429.101 for collection with payable 2026 property taxes.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, 8C Elmcrest Avenue Cooperation Agreement. Abby.
Thank you, Mayor Roberts, members of the council. Tonight in front of you is your consideration of a cooperative agreement between the city of Forest Lake, Columbus, Hugo, Lino Lakes, and the Economic Development Authorities of Anoka County and Washington County. The intent of the cooperative agreement is for all jurisdictions to agree to move forward with an Elmcrest, I'm going to call it Elmcrest, though it has many different names, Elmcrest Avenue Corridor Study. The intent of this study is to look at the Elmcrest Avenue corridor, which is our western boundary in the southwest corner of the city that we share with Hugo and, Columbus, and extends down into Hugo and Lino Lakes, is to come up with a universal design for the roadway that all four cities can agree to. We believe that this significant economic development effort as we move forward is going to be able to help better guide the development along this corridor, and also make all of the cities and the counties potentially eligible for some potential funding in the future for the development of this roadway that development is leading towards, but there's really no plan for. Included in the cooperative agreement, the parties would agree to scope of services for a request for proposals. We'd solicit and evaluate responses, select a firm to conduct the design plan. We develop and agree to a funding formula and execute a professional services agreement. And then we would create the Elmcrest Avenue Corridor Design Plan, conduct presentations, and adopt the plan. At this time, no money is being asked from any of the jurisdictions. Rather, it's enabling the staff of all of these jurisdictions to move forward with developing RFP to go out for services to see what this would cost us. We did bring this forward to the Forest Lake EDA last week, who are in support of this. They do recommend that we enter into this agreement. And we did also hear from Chris Eng with Washington County CDA, who has said the CDA does have funding that is available that would be able to help offset those costs. So tonight before you is consideration of entering into this cooperative agreement, and staff is recommending you motion to approve the corridor cooperative agreement and authorize Mayor Roberts to sign it. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. Having been at the EDA meeting last week and having an opportunity to look more closely at this with the entire EDA body and hearing from Abby as well as Chris Eng. So I'm in full support of this agreement, and it'll be a good step forward.
Questions? Want to make a motion?
Yes, sir. I make a motion to approve the corridor cooperative agreement and authorize Mayor Roberts to sign it.
I'll second.
Motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8D, Ordinance 764, 2026 fee schedule. Ellie.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. One last time, what is in front of you tonight is the city's review of the 2026 fee schedule. At our prior meeting, we brought forth an amended fee schedule for the 2025 fee schedule to update a couple escrow accounts, but within this is a full review and modification reviewed by all staff members and department heads. With this, on your packet, there are a couple summaries that I'm just going to talk through. The first one is the administration citation portion has just been updated to fit what we're seeing across our partner cities and what are our comparable cities showing. Building inspections was reviewed and updated in the similar parameter with our new building inspector, Jason. And then we have our police just updated they updated one fee that they didn't have the ability to enforce. And then planning and zoning, I'm actually gonna have Abby talk on this one, as this is where most of the modifications came from.
So a number of years ago, the city council elected to include into the fee schedule escrow deposits for many of our development applications. The city at the time was charging a nominal fee, and then would ask developers to sign what's called a bill back agreement. It's kind of an IOU promise. And when I came on, I had encouraged the council to consider adopting an escrow-based system, which is kind of converting from that credit card system to a debit card system, essentially in an effort to ensure that we don't have outstanding debts from developers, that we're not having to invoice, that we're not having to go track down money later, that we'd collect a little bit more money up front, and that we'd keep track of those charges associated with those development accounts, and as accounts got low, then we'd add more in. I told the council, which I think maybe Councilmember Valento might have been the only person that was here at the time, that I knew that the numbers that we were starting with were low. And that was partially because I had been new here and hadn't had enough time to really assess how much development review was costing. So after a few more years of being able to assess how much it takes for the city to review, and a lot of that is also in with costs incurred by our consultants, how much it costs us to actually review our applications, and then also assess where we were kind of fair market-wise or looking at some of our peer communities. Tonight before you is some increases in those escrows to be both in line with a couple of our peer communities, but really I looked at Hugo, Lionel Lakes, and Wyoming, I think is what I had put in the staff report, and also then what we've been incurring. Also on the fee schedule then is the removal of some applications where I don't believe we should be accepting escrows. That would be most of our residential developments where we might just be charging our homeowners flat fees for something like a variance or conditional use permit, where we're really not incurring any outside costs. It's really just taking that staff time. So tonight before you is kind of a culmination of those, that you'll see some of those numbers increase if you cross-compared them with the existing, but those increases really do reflect what it's actually costing us to do the development review of many of our, most of our major land development applications. You have any questions specific to that for me? Or we can wait till we're done maybe, and if you do, I'm available.
And then the final portion of that fee schedule would just be our public works. And we updated a few rates to make it consistent. And then it was also the sewer, water, and stormwater rates, which went in front of the council at the workshop in October. So staff is recommending the approval of the 2026 fee schedule, but I'm here to answer any questions, and so is Abby.
Council, thoughts?
I mean, we've workshopped a lot of this, so, I mean, not a lot of new information here, so I appreciate you bringing this forward.
That anyone take a motion?
Make a motion to approve the 2026 fee schedule, ordinance number 764, an ordinance repealing and replacing City Code Chapter 35, fees and service charges.
Second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, 8E, December workshop status. Jolene.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. We are winding down in the calendar year here, and tonight is technically our last meeting of 2025 for the city council. In order to wrap up a few loose ends, I'm proposing that the city council consider converting next week's workshop to a regular meeting so that the city council can conduct some business to wrap up those few lingering items. This wouldn't require a whole lot of work. We would certainly post notice of the meeting if council were to choose to convert this. If we want to keep it as a workshop, that's certainly under council's discretion, but I would just note that our next meeting of this council won't be for another month until January 12th. Questions?
Do you anticipate other workshop items?
There could potentially be some workshop items.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if we're gonna have convert it to a meeting, we'd have discussion items, just like we have on our normal agenda. Wouldn't be in a workshop setting, we'd be in the, I guess we could do both, actually, if you wanted to have a separate work session, but I would suggest we just simply have discussion items on the regular agenda.
You're looking for a motion to make that change, or is this
I would, if council's open to it, I'd request a motion to convert that meeting from a workshop to a meeting.
that motion?
I'll make a motion to convert the December 15th, 2025 council workshop to a city council meeting.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, 8F, Let's Go Fishing funding request. Dave Adams.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I'm kind of doing this on behalf of Kyle Young. I hope he took the time to read his really long memo here. He was very thorough in his background of this. I'll kind of give you the shorthand version. Let's Go Fishing and Kyle met in about April and started talking about creating a chapter here on Forest Lake. It was brought to, I believe, the Parks Commission in June. The commission was all on board with making this partnership. So Kyle and Let's Go Fishing have been working since June, creating this chapter. They have a board now. They've been out raising money to try to get a 2026 season. They raised about $28,000, enough to buy a boat. They bought one from another chapter, I think up in Rush City, so they're gonna buy a used boat. They're still short a little money to guarantee that they're gonna be going in 2026. Even since he wrote this memo, he met with the Forest Lake Schools bass fishing team. There's going to be a great partnership there with volunteers, and all the kids are going to be volunteer hours are going to be used for helping run these boats. They got some captains that are going to volunteer hours. So I think where we're at right now is we just need to get this off the ground, and once it's off the ground, continual donations, and people are going to want to be part of this. It's one of those, until you see it and the word gets out that people are taking these trips, it's at that last step. So at the last meeting in November, Mark from Let's Go Fishing, the president of this chapter, did his presentation of where they were at, and then after the meeting, actually the Parks and Recs Commission wanted to know if there's a way to help out. And after that, an email was sent requesting $10,000 from the city to kind of fill that last gap to be able to secure 100% funding for 2026 to make sure that they can go. In the Parks Programming Fund, we are well under budget this year. Kyle did a great job of raising funds and volunteers and stuff for all of our other events, so it wouldn't be an over budget situation to be able to give these dollars to this fund. So I can answer any questions you have, but basically the ask is to donate that $10,000 to this group, and in the future, our in-kind donation to this group would be providing them a slip in partnership with your boat club at the lakeside docks there for this pontoon to be housed and where that the on and offboarding of the events would take place.
Dave, can you give just, for more of the public now, just exactly what Let's Go Fishing is and who they serve? And
yeah, it's older citizens, disabled citizens, veterans. It's a whole gamut of people that, just even people that can't afford to go fishing, that don't have a boat or the fishing tackle. It's not set for specific groups of people, so it's a sign up to these scheduled times, and you get a boat ride on Forest Lake, and they provide all the fishing tackle, the fishing bait, the fuel, and the tour guide. They have a captain running the boat, so it's fantastic. The other bonus is you usually have a group of people coming into town, and from what we heard from Let's Go Fishing, these people are going out to the meals at a restaurant before or afterwards, or stopping at a gas station to buy stuff for that trip. So I think you're also infusing dollars into the community just by having this type of event.
And do you know, or anyone else, is it common that cities participate in funding for this organization and other communities?
I think that in-kind donation, typically it's giving them a spot to have, that was one of their initial asks, was if we could find them a spot on the lake to be able to have this. They were starting to talk to residents to see if they could use their own private dock to be able to run this event. So it is helpful that we have, a marina right there that has a fuel tank and, 24-hour day staffed, places where it's, accessed off to where, security accessed off, so it's protected. I don't know if the initial ask is that common, but I think it's a really good opportunity to get this club going. And like I said, I don't I don't really see an issue with this thing taking right off. Once people see it and hear about it, it's going to be a long-standing partnership in the city.
And just one last question. Would that slip be a loss to the city, or it would be one less space that your boat club would use? You mentioned a partnership, but.
Yeah, we're working on that. It's either going to be a tie-off, so one of the slips that they don't currently rent, it would be on the outside. It wouldn't be actually the protected slip inside, or it'd be along the fuel docks there, just tied off there. So it won't take your boat club spot.
Motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a donation of $10,000 to Let's Go Fishing chapter of Forest Lake. Just on a side note, I met with Keith also as a member of the Forest Lake American Legion. He's going to come and speak before us, and I think it's just the slight information that he gave me at our Friday night Christmas event at the park. It's an awesome deal for the vets and also some of the other people in the community. So as far as the Forest Lake Legion goes, I know we were probably going to be posting a donation to this event as well on behalf of our veterans. Thank you.
Motions or a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8G, Southwest Forest Lake Infrastructure Phasing Study. Headwaters Parkway Extension. Abby.
Thank you, Mayor Roberts, members of the council. In late 2024, the EDA was awarded a Washington County Pre-Development Finance Fund grant to assist with the development of a study focusing on the future infrastructure in the southwest corner of the city. So that same area we were talking about Elm Crest earlier, as development's moving towards it, we've identified that we really don't have some long-term infrastructure plans that are needed for the area. So we were funded a two-part study, which would identify the future alignment of Headwaters Parkway and then also create some new design standards and policies related to collector roadway design in the study area. Tonight, I'm going to run through some presentation slides that City Engineer Ryan Goodman did create. I'm not going to read them all. There's a little extra wordy in there for me. But I do want to at least highlight what the study is. So looking again in that southwest corner, bordered Elm Crest on the west, Headwaters Parkway, Fenway, and 190th. The primary purpose of the study is to figure out where is Headwaters Parkway going to connect with Elm Crest Avenue. And the study really looked at, and it said, we're going to explore two options for that. One that lines up with 195th, and another one that lines up halfway between 190th and 195th. The scope identified was those two conceptual layouts, engaging with property owners, identifying easements needed, wetland investigation, preparing preliminary stormwater design, and then preparing preliminary cost estimates. In addition to the Headwaters Parkway extension, again, there are some additional policies related to the design of the parkway and the other collector roads in there. We've talked with the council a little bit in the last year about that here and now design versus the design of Forest Lake's long-term full build-out future. Part of this was stemming from the 2006 master plan of the area. Headwaters Parkway west of Fenway was intended to have that two-way divided roadway design like Headwaters Parkway has between Highway 61 and Fenway. As Headwaters Parkway started to move west of Fenway, we narrowed that down and have been working in that single design. We've started to see development in that kind of phase 3 area where the Hidden Creek has been developing. And as Hidden Creek moves to the south, to be known as Hidden Creek South cleverly, we really needed to figure out how that roadway was going to keep extending. So our conceptual layout number 1 is just following the same alignment as noted in the 2006 Headwaters Parkway, or excuse me, Headwaters Planned Unit Development. You'll see in here it carries that existing design, but it does have some wetland impacts as we move towards Elm Crest Avenue. We've indicated on Elm Crest Avenue that we don't know what that control intersection is going to be like, or that intersection control will be like. So we are kind of planning for the potential for an impact of if a roundabout was going to be put in that location. Conceptual layout 2, it is longer in design, does have less impacts, also still accounting for that potential if there was going to be a roundabout in that location. As you'll notice with option 1 and option 2, we have also put in the concept plans we've seen over the last few years in the area to look at how the neighborhoods would feed into the 2 different options. Option 1 really only provides for the existing access into Hidden Creek, and then a new access from Hidden Creek south. Option 2 does provide much more access into those residential neighborhoods as they develop. Noted, we did conduct a wetland delineation, identifying the different wetland types. This is just showing you that there's, much like a lot of our development areas in Forest Lake, there's a lot of wetland areas that we need to work through. Concept 1 does have 1.13 acres of immediate wetland impact. The roadway, because it's smaller, is less costly, and it is consistent with that underlying PUD and comprehensive plan. Concept layout 2 has less of an immediate wetland impact. It would be more expensive than option 1, but it does serve a larger development area. As the roadway extends down and then to the west, it actually touches most of the undevelopable parcels that don't touch Fenway or 190th, if that makes sense to you. This would be the way that this could, these parcels in the area, just standing back, that parcels in the area would all connect to Elmcrest to Highway 61. Additionally, this would also be able to allow us to tie into the Judicial Ditch 4 project, really kind of looking at infrastructure altogether in that location. So other design considerations, we have looked at the wetland management corridor in the area and what that would require. We are still working through some things with the watershed regarding that wetland management corridor and any sort of upland buffers from the wetlands. And then also we will need to work closely with Rice Creek Watershed District on 100-year elevations. Some of this is also being done with that JD4 study that we're kind of working in conjunction with one another. So the project next steps are determine a preferred alignment, and then once we have a preferred alignment, we'd be moving forward with preliminary stormwater design, preliminary cost estimates, finalizing some of those policies for integration into our development materials, our city code, our public works engineering design standards. Tonight before you is staff seeking direction from this council on the preferred alignment for Headwaters Parkway. I will note that we have received one development application that will be impacted no matter which way, or I can't say no matter which way, but will be impacted by the decision. And so one of the things that we're really looking to do is to establish that preferred standard so that we can start really better guiding the development in this neighborhood. So my recommendation tonight is you discuss this and provide some direction to staff. I will also note we did meet with the EDA last week, chatted with them because it is an EDA project, and the EDA has indicated that there is favorability to option 2. I should also note we have met with all landowners in the area with the exception of Bob Walls, who owns the properties where it'll intersect with Elmcrest Avenue. Many of the property owners were in support of option 2. There was some discussion about whether or not Headwaters Parkway should extend straight down to 190th. Staff does have concerns for that because generally you don't want to connect a collector road with another collector road. You want to make your smaller roads connect to your bigger roads and your bigger roads connect to your bigger roads. And we really want to try to be connecting this collector road to our state and county highway systems, kind of, that's how that transportation network builds. We have heard from the property owner, Pat Cerny, right here, who has been less favorable of either option. She did suggest an option that kind of clipped her property a little bit more, likely reserving the farmstead off for kind of isolating it by itself and then coming through the center of the properties in between the 2 options. The challenge that staff has identified with this potential third alternative, which we have not looked at is while there would be no wetland impacts, it would just push those impacts onto the private development later. Impacts for roadway development are viewed a little bit more favorably. When we're building big roads, the technical evaluation panels seem to be a little bit more favorable when we're building roads versus impacting wetlands for private residential development. So tonight before you is the discussion item, but staff is seeking some direction on a preferred alternative by the council so we can keep moving forward and then also start looking at some of these plats that might be affected. Do you have any questions for me?
Council.
One real quick one. Option 2, that divides some zoning as well, correct?
Correct. So option 2 really is, the current zoning isn't affected, but the future land use is. So everything to the south of option 2 along that kind of section line is guided for highway business, where to the north it's guided for single family residential. And so there is that, I'm gonna go back to here. There is that opportunity to revisit some of this future highway business land area in the 2050 comp plan that will be starting next year. But as of right now, we do anticipate that for sure along Elmcrest Avenue, that highway business would be still remain along those major corridors.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Abby, could you go back and show us, you said you had some potential developers that have come to the city with some ideas and some plats, and lay them out where they are with both roads? How would it, I just want to see how it affects if we have the 195th road with development versus the second option.
Sure, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, Councilmember Miller, I am gonna stay on this map here
Okay.
with our two options.
Okay.
Because 195th is the line that separates our current urban service area with our future urban service area. So while the city has seen concept plans for a number of different things in the area, really all that we can, I can't say take seriously, is what's being planned in where we have our urban services and what's being guided for development in this decade. So currently, we have received application for, it has not yet been determined complete, Hidden Creek South.
Correct.
We've seen a concept plan on Hidden Creek South. Can you see my cursor? Yeah.
Yep.
That would include development of this parcel here, which Headwaters, Hidden Creek development kind of comes and loops up and around and would come back in to meet up with the parkway, however it would end up lining up. And then Hidden Creek South also includes the western parcel of the Chris Taylor Trust property. That preliminary plat that was submitted, and that was just submitted right before Thanksgiving, so it was after we had had property owner correspondence, but before we'd come to the EDA to have the conversations, shows Headwaters Parkway extending straight down. I'm gonna flip over to our options really quick. In option 1, we would have to carry the development plat is being shown at coming down this property line, not swooping in this fashion. We don't have enough, we need that bend as it's designed for safety reasons.
I understand.
If you, this portion here was designed with the Hidden Creek, or the Hidden Creek South concept plan embedded into it. It might have changed slightly from the dotted roadways you see here, but generally speaking, this is approximately what we've seen for Hidden Creek South. Though we do have what I would call ghost plat designs, they're not even concept plans, never submitted to us on the Cerny property or the Rabine property further south outside of the current urban service area.
Certainly gives us a lot more options, I think, with development with option 2 versus option 1.
Yeah, from staff's perspective, and I kind of keep going back to this, even though the roadway alignments aren't well depicted here and don't follow the two options you've seen, swooping the road down and following along the halfway point between 190th and 195th really touches the Hidden Creek South properties, the Cerny property. Rabines own both of these. This is the Brandt property, and these are both owned by Walls. So when you bring this down along the property line, it's, oops, and scoop it around to the west, you're really touching all of the individual landowner properties in the area. That really will help us better feed those parcels into the parkway. While it doesn't touch the properties along Fenway, we do believe that those then would access over onto Fenway, another collector road.
Thank you.
I guess I wouldn't normally, but with the watershed history you have on the, assuming you're going to speak to that.
John Waller, Mr. Mayor. Abby, Mark, I know we have headwaters in the watershed plan. You know, that's there. But tonight I'm hearing you extending it a little bit farther, maybe beyond the branch 4 of JD4 and south towards 180th Street. Earlier, when you were talking about the 4 cities, I know that's not in the plan, but if you're going to extend beyond the current footprint that you have labeled in the plan, it would be good to get the district to make an amendment, because when it comes to funding, Mr. Mayor, the district is able to grant funding from the whole district back to the city for new projects. And it can also work with the city to access the Clean Water Fund money that we would use for improvements. For example, we're dredging, should I say such a word? Dredging Jones Lake in Ramsey County right soon. Jones Lake is a wetland that's been filled in and misused over decades and decades and such of neglect. But, and we'll have to go to the state for bonding money. But nevertheless, that can be done, is what I'm saying to you, with those wetlands. But you have to put it in the plan. And I was with Mark earlier this spring, and we took a look at the plan to make sure that is in there. But if you're going to have it extended to that footprint, Abby, and that footprint that you're also talking about with those 4 cities on that road, which we've talked about that for decades. I mean, I remember when Bachman was a representative, we were trying to get something done with the federal government on that. And to put that into the plan, and so make sure, because along with your long-term stormwater plan at the same time, but even make an amendment to our plan early, because it's 5 years till we do that yet. So that's all I was going to say, Mr. Mayor, is that that way you have access to funding, and it's always good to be able to tell the folks that you are really spending this much money because you got it from other taxpayers. You know, tonight they're upset about you spending this little bit of money, but as I remember, you have a $5 million bonding bill that came from the state, along with some small change from the watershed district, 50, 60,000 or something. And it's important to show the balance of that. I think that you are able to accomplish that much greater impact in your city. And that's why I ask about the plan for the watershed district. Make sure that's updated. Don't just wait till the end of the 10 years. You get it going now and you get the footprint in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Any additional questions? The question I have, and I guess it doesn't really, regardless of what route, which option we go to, is this study on the Elm Crest. Are we going to be deadheading a parkway into likely a dirt road? I mean, what is the timing as to where we think we're going to get all the way there, and where this? How does that line? It's probably hard to really tell. But
it's a great question, and I think members of the council, some of you have heard that development pays its way in Forest Lake, and so while we are planning for that future roadway extension to Elm Crest, as of right now, we don't have development plans to put in Elm Crest. This is not, we're not looking at a public infrastructure project. We're just looking at establishing the location and the design details for it. And as development occurs, then they would be asked to put in the roadway, or it gets negotiated through the development review process. As I mentioned, the 195th is the urban service area boundary till 2030. So that extension beyond that line, we still have a few more years that might get adjusted through the update of the comp plan process. And so, well, yes, we're planning for a road to lead to a dirt road. That would end up happening at the time of development. And the hope is our Elmcrest Avenue study and that corridor design development is going to run in tandem with our development, that these roadways connect together at the perfect union at the perfect time. That's the hope.
Well, maybe that leads number 2 to even make more sense, because it's going to take us longer to get there, as opposed to the 195th, it's going to happen sooner. So maybe that, just to avoid that kind of traffic going out to a gravel road, probably is.
And one thing that I do want to point out that City Engineer Goodman had also mentioned in the EDA that's worth noting is Headwaters Parkway east of Fenway. The southern leg of that was funded with assistance to the city. It was a city-funded project, but there was some funding pools that we were able to tap into. It's in the cooperative agreement, it's our hope to have a design standard for the roadways that the counties adopt and that the state can help buy into, that we can develop Elmcrest Avenue with outside sources in the future, and potentially looking at that regional impact of the connection to other roadways, that there might be a larger regional infrastructure project here that could score better on, state transportation system plans and that sort of thing. So we're not the only city that's looking at some of the infrastructure that's leading into Elmcrest right now. I would say that, Columbus has a lesser developable land area, but we will be looking at how those accesses go into Elmcrest. But this is one of the few kind of more major roadways that will be connecting in there.
Guys, you're looking for a motion to?
Yeah, a motion, so a motion to select option as the preferred alternative for the Headwaters Parkway extension.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to designate option 2, as discussed tonight, as the preferred alignment of the future Headwaters Parkway.
I'd second that.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8H, downtown snow and ice removal. Mark, I think you might start on this one.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we added this agenda item. There was a couple of comments from council members about snow and ice removal in the downtown. And, just looking back at the history of the discussion here, I added in the minutes from the previous meeting when this was discussed about a year ago. I think some of the thought process was a year ago, as you can read in the minutes there, just about sort of a wait and see how it goes. I think at the time there was a change to the policy to kind of up the ante on how often we do some snow removal in the downtown in terms of like hauling out the berm that forms between the sidewalk and the street. Dave's crew have been doing that a bit more often. Last snow season didn't present a lot of opportunities to test that out too much. And then also, in the meantime, we've sort of stood up code enforcement a bit more. And so I think, again, the thought was, let's see how code enforcement goes and how are we doing in terms of getting people to comply. And I think this last snow event, we had maybe 3 or 4 non-compliant folks in the downtown area. We were able to address those pretty quickly. And I think staff has become pretty comfortable with that process. We think we have a pretty responsive process where we have a contractor on call to do the abatement, and it's done, within, Abby, do you have an estimate of roughly how quickly that gets done?
Yeah, I mean, this is only our second year doing it and our first year with our quarter-time code enforcement officer. I do think that they were out there within 24 hours of us calling them. The challenge is, I think the last more significant snow event maybe happened on a Thursday or a Friday. And then you've got that weekend and we're not in until Monday and then we inspect it and maybe don't call till Tuesday. So there is a delay in that service. Part of that is Dan is only here a couple or 3 days a week at 4 hours a day. One nice thing is that once somebody gets noticed, once in the year, we can just go out and emergency abate from here on out. And so we do believe that once that first snowfall, kind of we work through the kinks with some of those offending properties, the system is designed to kind of get on top of them quicker. But we also believe that also we have less offending properties as the year goes, as the season goes on.
And just to add to what is in the packet here, just to be clear, what staff is proposing, if the council should choose to add service to the downtown, the current proposal, it would be to simply give the same service to the downtown that we give to our other routes that are on the current map. So currently our policy extends to bituminous trails and then a number of sidewalks that are included in a Safe Routes to School grant that we had a number of years ago. And so essentially we do two different bituminous trails and Safe Routes to School. This proposal would add the downtown district, if you want to call it that, to the list of places that we give this trail service to. So again, the proposal would not be to do anything different than any other district other than we would add this 5 blocks one way and 5 blocks the other way to the map, give it the same sort of one pass service that we give the rest of the trails and sidewalks that are currently on the map. There'd still be a role, I guess is what I'm saying, for each individual business to probably clean up, so to speak, what our one pass service doesn't do. And then of course the frequency with which we do this, we would only do it at the same time that we do other trails and sidewalks, which means we have a threshold. I think it's 2 inches, Dave. So we don't do we're not going around and doing the trails and sidewalks tonight because it's not going to get to 2 inches. So that would have to be kept in mind too, is that obviously downtown businesses probably want to clear their walks and that kind of thing on a more frequent basis on smaller events. So that's what's in front of you, and I'd welcome any discussion. Obviously, Dave is here to answer any questions too about their operation.
Well, just a quick question. So Abby, with this last snow event, were there some business owners that were put on notice then?
Yeah, notices ended up, and I'd have to double check with Dan. We have the right with snow and ice removal that it is an emergency service, so we can send our abatement guy out right away. And then we can send the notice with the invoice because there is an emergency service. So I don't know if those notices went out last week as a, hey, reminder, this is our program, you didn't do it, we're going to, or we have abated, or if Dan will be sending them out with the invoices. I just would have to double check exactly what we did in this specific circumstance. But yes, we are in the process. If all property owners have not been abated, there will be additional invoices or notices going out. This extends beyond downtown. I know that downtown was the inquiry that came up to staff, but we, as staff, we're really looking at downtown Broadway and 12th because those are those commercial corridors where we're seeing pedestrian traffic most impacted.
Yeah, I mean, I sent an email just looking for a reminder of what the plan was. And of course, the next morning, the berms got removed. And so I don't know if those sidewalks that hadn't been previously cleaned got cleaned with those berms, or if there was a contractor that came out, or can you walk me through what actually happened last week?
We cleaned the berms, but the contractor did show up while we were cleaning the berm. So I talked to Dan today, and they would have cleared it that night, that Tuesday night. Just, we had a window of opportunity to get that cleared in between there and Hometown Hall. We want to make sure that was cleared out for that event, so.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you guys did that.
Yes, they did. He did send them out he looked at them on Tuesday and then sent them out that night.
I mean, this came up, we've been talking about it here for 2 or 3 years. Just the kind of thing that downtown is, become more walkable with the enhanced berm removal. It had never, really happened before. It's county road and, or state road, and we counted on them to handle that. And I really appreciate, Dave and his team stepping up with the new policy and making downtown a lot more walkable, as I, see elderly clients trying to, climb over a snowbank a couple years ago, trying to get to their dental appointment or what have you. It's not the situation anymore, which I really, really appreciate, and so do they. This corridor, we spent a lot of money on a design and things that we want to see happen down here, and just the very fact that our equipment is right in the area. I think it's been a conversation that, past council, some members of past councils have had and said, hey, can we just do a sweep up and down that corridor? Not expecting a building to curb cleaning, but just ensure that it's walkable, especially on these bigger snow events. And I think every property owner still has a responsibility to get out there and take pride in ownership, and take care of their property. But again, with equipment being right in that area, to just take another 15 minutes or whatever, it takes to go that 5 blocks. I think it's a value to the citizens of Forest Lake to be able to, walk down that sidewalk without fear of, falling or having their snow, just stumbling through 3-4 inches of snow or what have you.
Thoughts or questions?
I think that if the equipment is in the area, if they're doing a berm clean out or something of that nature, I think that's one thing, but I don't think we should be in the habit of cleaning the full sidewalk. I think the business owners should own that area as far as cleaning it up, making it accessible for their customers and so forth. When the snow reaches a certain level, obviously Public Works has been out there and has taken care of that matter, but I don't want to see them coming out all the time and doing the work of the business owners. I think they should be held accountable for their property. For example, just say the people that are on North Shore Drive that have a sidewalk, by law and ordinance, they have to clean their sidewalks. And they also have to free up the area around the fire hydrant. And that is just general common knowledge, I guess. I just don't want to see our public works spending time out there doing that type of stuff when we have many miles of roads and other things that they should be out doing and working more on with more occupancy of the public on the roadways and such. But if they're in the area, that's a whole nother situation.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I guess my question is for Dave. Do we first of all, is this being charged back to those businesses, or is this just a service we're going to do at our expense?
I believe as it's proposed, it'd be a service that we're doing for them.
And somebody mentioned minutes and time and how long it might take. What do you project with an average snowfall? How much time is being put in out there? If we were to, is that from it says 2nd to 3rd Avenue, from the south side of town to the north side of town? How long would you say that takes?
I guess it would depend on your snowfall, so 10 blocks. I would guess on an easy snowfall, about a half an hour to go up and back down, and then getting through the roundabout and doing all those ped crossings.
And that's just a clearing, basically just a pass. And there would still be a bunch of work that has to be done by the businesses.
Correct, yep.
We're not scraping the sidewalks dry, we're not salting, we're not sanding. Are we liable for anything if we do that?
Good question. I don't know if we cause damage to the building as we're going by, if that's our liability or not. I think we'd have to use the snow blower as we went through there, because otherwise we'd just V-plow a windrow right in front of all the buildings. So typically it depends on the snowfall.
So are we blowing the snow back in the street then?
We'd be blowing it into the snow berm, so we just.
Into the berm that we're gonna scrape?
Yep.
So we have to do one before the other?
Correct, yep.
So it's a coordination thing, not just interesting. Do we do any other sidewalks or any other areas of town like this?
We do. The only other sidewalks other than city property that we do are the Safe Route to School. That was a grant that we got, so we're required to do those sidewalks for the next 25 years. So we're at year 7 of that. And one other section that we do in front of St. Peter's Church, that was added on to the agreement. We also pay them for the parking, but we also do their snow plowing of their sidewalk as well.
St. Peter. Hope we get back to that one of these days. So we don't do anything on Broadway?
We do the trail on the south side, so we do all.
Just the trail?
Yep, we do all blacktop trails throughout the city, and then just city-owned property except for safe routes to school.
You know, I agree with Leaf, and I agree with Jeff that, you know, it is nice when we have an event like we had on a Friday with the tree lighting and stuff to, you know, have that cleared off if you have a sudden storm, but there's no guarantee that would happen all the time, unless obviously we're putting in overtime sometimes. But I'm not sure if that's a good practice from a city standpoint. You know, I've had businesses and I'm involved in some associations and where homeowners are supposed to maintain their own stuff. And as soon as you start doing something for someone, it seems like everybody else wants it done for them. My concern would be if we start doing this, what are the other business owners going to expect?
Well, just a couple points of clarification. The map on the left, we're doing all the way around the roundabout right now.
Correct.
So that hooks around the corner where National Insurance Brokers is. Right?
And
So
that's
we're-
because of the walkways there, right?
Right,
Yeah.
well, walkways and the sidewalk as well, right?
Yep, that's city property, yep.
And we haven't damaged the buildings yet at this point. Are we also doing the north side of Broadway from Third Avenue Southwest to the west?
Yep, the trail up to the Legion, correct.
Is that city-owned property?
That is not.
Or are we doing it elsewhere?
When you say the trail, are you talking about Headwood?
No, if you look at your map on the left,
I'm sorry, yep.
you get Centennial there,
Yep.
and then you take a block off, and then it's blue again to the west.
Because of the Legion.
This way.
Probably the senior building or whatever there. I
Well,
suppose.
we're not doing it right in front of the senior
Does it
building.
skip
Skips
that
some area.
completely?
No.
I was just gonna ask, for by the roundabout, what equipment do we use to plow the snow there?
We use an ag tractor because it's really skinny sidewalks. Depends if we use a snow blower or a plow, depends on the snow. We know usually what the snowfall is gonna be, and then that's the piece we put on there the night before or the afternoon before. If we did this, then it would just be the snow blower the whole time, because like I said, if you had a plow on the front, you'd make more of a mess than good. Or you'd have to switch back and then switch back again.
The amount of miles of trails we do each snow event, or after 2 inches.
About 11 miles.
So, discussing this for 3 years here, we did a study, it cost us $100,000, and the number one thing it says that we want a more walkable downtown. I get the whole idea of, well, another business is gonna expect it, whatever, but I think this council is very supportive of trying to drive as much traffic and people to our downtown as possible. This is the low-hanging fruit to at least handle one of the issues that we found out through our study, that it needs to be more walkable. This seems like an easy ask. We just approved for $100 and some thousand a new public works employee here this evening. This seems like an easy ask, and it's really supporting our businesses and getting people to come downtown. So I think it's important. It's been something I brought up a number of times over the years. Full support of expanding to do our downtown area.
Just one more question, Mr. Mayor and Council. So I agree that downtown is important. I agree we're trying to get people down there, and that's our plan. And so when we talk about downtown then, but we're not plowing any of the roads by the Gong building down there, are we? So that's a business, but we're not cleaning off their walkways and their stuff, right? They have their own people that do that?
Well, we're right, as it's pointed out here, is we are right, that roundabout, this small roundabout, that's right in front of the Gone building.
Right. But aren't there sidewalks there? No?
So the downtown parking lot is contracted out, so that gets contracted out, and then it gets goofy in the municipal lot. There's some that ours are ours to maintain, and there's some that are not, depending on when it got developed. So it gets goofy once you get into the municipal lot. Going down first, that's contracted out.
The building that's set back
Correct.
by the memorial.
Are you asking about the sidewalks that are like right in front of LeGrand?
Yeah.
Because those aren't on the map here.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking about, because that's a business that we're trying to support as well. So this is my point. Are we gonna do those as well and keep expanding, or are we just gonna focus on
I think
road?
yeah, good question. And I think the corridor that you see highlighted here is what was part of the downtown study.
Mhm.
You know, like as Mayor Roberts reflected, was spent quite a bit of money on. Now, I will say, part of that study shows I think it was a 1 mile loop that would actually cross over one of the currently privately owned properties in this downtown corridor. So I would suspect that perhaps when that ever comes to fruition, you know, there's a very good possibility that, of course, that would be designated as a trail. So there'd be even more mileage downtown that would be, of course, presumably cleared because it's designated trail. So
I think for me, the difficult part of this conversation is in thinking about the history of this conversation. The discussion was around, we changed the policy and then we wanted to test out the abatement process. The first winter, we didn't get like any snow, so we came back to it.
Right.
And then we were like, let's keep it with the abatement process because last year we didn't get any snow, so we didn't get to test it out. So let's test out this year, hoping that we'll actually get snow. So last year we did get snow and then we tested it out, and then hearing from the staff, the abatement process works. So for me, it would be hard to include the sidewalks in there knowing that the abatement process does work. Because if it is working, then we are still making downtown walkable and user-friendly because the property owners are shoveling. And if they're not, then the abatement process, as as it's been stated, is working. So that's the hard part for me.
So I guess definition of working, plowing it 3 days after the snow event, is that considered working?
I think that'd be if that's one-off examples of like if it snows on a Friday. But that's not to say, we're gonna have certain circumstances like that. You know, like we can't predict when it's going to snow. We can, like, to a certain extent, but the whole conversation was if abatement's working, and I think for the most part it is. And I'm also concerned too with, as Kevin mentioned, and this was part of the historical conversation as well, of if we are going to allow this to happen in downtown, then what other property owners will want this to be a thing? For example, St. Peter's, we weren't plowing their sidewalks until they requested it in the agreement that we approved this last year. So I could foresee it continuing to happen where more and more property owners would want this to happen. And then the conversation, it would go full circle of, are we going to continue to put more money when it comes to our budget towards public works for this service towards our business owners if this continues to grow? Because if this continues to grow and it gets larger, then more of our public works employees are going to be shoveling down here instead of plowing the streets, and then people will be complaining about the streets not being plowed. And then if more property owners want their sidewalks plowed, it's going to continue to bubble up, and then we're gonna put more money towards public works and then get more community members coming in complaining about the budget going up.
well, with all due respect, as it relates to St. Peter's, I can't believe it takes a lot more time to clear that section of sidewalk, because we literally would pick the blade up or the brush up, drive past them to put it back down. So we're already in the area making the pass. So honestly, it was at an extra minute to do St. Peter's. And it's a route to school. So, I struggle with that a little bit. Dave, what kind of time are we taking right now downtown to clean the roundabouts there that are already on the map on the left?
It's kind of skewed. The lines are longer than they are. They're really doing the pedestrian ramps, so we're required by MnDOT to clear all the pedestrians. So the lines connect together. What you're doing, there should be lines across the roads too, because we do in the middle of the roundabout, and then we make the one loop by the GON building to connect the municipal lots together. That's not part of the contract. On a, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to get through there, depending on traffic.
Of the 30 minutes it would take to do this, they're already there for 15 to 20 of it.
Just another question. But most of those, businesses, I mean, there, quite a few of them or a few of them are privately owned, but a lot of them are, there's common interest property. And I'm assuming that they would pay common interest fees, taxes, utilities, snow removal, lawn care, watering, that sort of stuff. So for example, the building that sits right on the corner on the north side of Broadway and 61, I would assume you pay a fee there towards common interest or common fees that includes someone coming out and clearing that sidewalk in the wintertime. And I would say on the other side, on the south side, they probably pay a lease fee that includes someone coming out and clearing out that sidewalk. I guess I'm not sure why we would get involved in that.
The change in policy wouldn't negate that. And those are two properties that they do take great care to clean their.
Yeah, they're always very nice.
Yeah, if you go further south, there's vacant properties that are not. From Broadway, from Broadway and Lake, halfway up that block, arguably almost all the way to Roll Seth, it's, for the most part, it's well maintained. You get north of there, it's not so much. And across the street, you've got some empty lots. There's from the Broadway and Lake on the west side, half of that's very well maintained. So most of it's very well maintained. The whole idea is not that this policy would be in replacement of the property owners doing their job and doing their responsibility. It's simply, they're in the area. What if they take another 10 minutes, make a loop, and so at least moving the big snow, it's in, and people are gonna still have to come through. I mean, those property owners are still gonna have to come through and clean. But
Yeah. So again, I'm sorry, but so would we have a time limit that we have to do it? I mean, so if it snows 4 inches tonight, does our city have to get out and do it tonight?
it's a great question, and one that's come up every time this conversation's come up.
Oh.
The idea is.
Sorry, I bet I haven't been into those other ones.
No, so it's a good question. It's good to revisit. Nobody on this council has asked staff to do anything above and beyond what they're already doing. So if they didn't get out there to clean that roundabout until Wednesday, there's no expectation that they'd be out there to clean the sidewalks before Wednesday. When they're in the area doing their normal course of business, arguably on their way to clean the American Legion sidewalk, they would make a pass up to wherever that line ends and come back down. It's nothing more than that. It's nothing more than what they're doing anywhere else in terms of level of service, time expectation, number of passes. I mean, these are all arguments that have come up of why that shouldn't be added, which, again, I can't believe we're still talking about this in this much depth for 3 years.
I mean, that's what's surprising. This council has pretty much been aligned on everything here, which it's good to have differences, but this seems like a really easy ask. We're looking to make our downtown more walkable. And yes, most of the people take care of it. Once we get some of these empty buildings redeveloped, it's likely not even an issue anymore. Dave, why are we doing the Legion?
I believe this is an old map. I think we had this the last time, and I think this is the map from the policy, and it's updated with that not on there. So this is an old map we used to do in front of the Legion, in front of the chiropractor across the street, and it was because we could store some snow in some guy's yard somewhere else, then we would plow a sidewalk on Broadway. But I believe this is an old map. We do not plow in front of the Legion. I think we had this conversation last year.
Shoveling it and maintaining it.
Yep. So I believe this is an old map, and I believe we had the same conversation last year, and I don't think we updated the map, or this is the old map of it. But our new snow plow, when we stop right at that pedestrian bridge. And the old map used to, you show us plowing all the way through, but then that was even before Cherwood Point got developed, so that was just a vacant lot. Just one point of clarification, or Abby can tell me I'm wrong, but I believe if the property is vacant and we know that it's vacant, that once it hits 2 inches of snow, our abatement comes out. They don't wait 48 hours for that to happen. I think a 2-inch trigger is when they come out. If it's somebody that isn't vacant or somebody else calls in a complaint, then it's 48 hours and then they abate that after that.
Yep, similar to what he said is in our contract for abatement services, and this also would go for lawn mowing in the summertime, that we have a one-time charge, and then we also have the ability to do a reoccurrence on the property. And so we haven't had to do that yet in the winter months because last year was pretty mild. And after that first snow, we had people going out. Were they going out, within 15, minutes a day? I don't know exactly. I'm not down there as much. But we do have the ability to put properties on a reoccurring service for abatement, so.
Dan would have to see that, or someone would have to complain for that to happen.
No, the way the contract is written is that if we put them, and so again, we got to give our folks some benefit of the doubt, right? We have some newer property owners. We have some that are probably, I could call tomorrow and put them on a reoccurrence because they were the same way with lawn mowing, they were the same way with snow removal last year. But first time, if they didn't do it, then we'd probably give them one more shot, and if they didn't do it that time when we sent them out, we'd probably just have our abatement services after every 2-inch snowfall go out and clear their sidewalk, and then we'd invoice them for those services. So we do have the ability to use our abatement services like a private contractor for hire to make sure that these things get done. We do incur a trip charge if they go out and the service has already been done. It's a nominal, I think it's 25 bucks per property or something, so it's fairly nominal in the scheme of things. In past communities for myself that have used this exact same abatement system, the ones that are on that reoccurrence, they're just, every time there's a 2-inch snowfall, the contractor goes back out. So it might be the next day, it might be, but I think the contract is within 24 hours of that snowfall.
When we do those abatements, do the people normally pay, or are those end up being assessments?
Because the program is still so new, many of them tonight you saw going for assessment. Some people do pay. Generally speaking, the people that are not complying with our rules, that get notice and asked to do better and to follow our rules, then receive a citation or an abatement, aren't paying their bills either.
Think of the staff time right there to manage that, as opposed to taking a sweep down the sidewalk every other, during a snow event. I mean, that alone is.
Well, I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. My concern, and I'm just talking because I like to talk sometimes. I understand we're just going to do a quick plow, but that doesn't mean that those owners don't still have to shovel. And if they don't shovel or clean their walkway, now they're still in some sort of a violation, which we still have to chase them. Wouldn't that be correct?
Correct.
But my point is, we shouldn't even make it convenient for them. They know they got to get out there and do it. They should just do it. I've owned business, you own businesses, I've owned businesses. I would get over and clear it out, or I would have my company get over and clear it out every time it snowed. And they get there as soon as they can get there. Unfortunately, sometimes they can't get there for sometimes 6 or 7 hours. But it was my business and I wanted to make sure it looked great and I wanted it my way. If the plow, it's kind of like at home. When I do my driveway, I do a really nice job in my driveway. I scrape that snow off, I work on it, I putz with it. And then that dang plow comes by and it puts a berm at the end of my driveway that's about 2 foot high. I gotta clean it out. You know, I mean, I don't mean to be mean, but I still have to clean it out, and that, let me tell you, is no fun. I want to call Dave every time it happens, but, so, I guess I'm so with it. I'm not sold on it. I don't know why we want to create more work for our staff.
Well, well,
I guess the situation kind of where I see is if Public Works is in the area and they're cleaning the berms off the road, if they make a pass, they make a pass. But I don't think we should make it a consistent situation where we're out there cleaning off their sidewalk when it's their responsibility. So wherever you want to go with it on that, I guess that's my thoughts on it.
it's pretty common for cities to do their downtowns. It's very common.
A lot of cities do all the sidewalks too.
We're not asking for that.
Right,
11 miles of trails.
right, we do. We have, yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to make a motion that we add additional snow removal, add to our current snow removal map, the downtown core of our city for more walkability and to support the local businesses downtown that we are trying to direct people to as easy as possible.
Friendly amendment, just to note that that's the sidewalks in the downtown area on Lake Street from 2nd Ave South to North 3rd Avenue North.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah,
Opposed.
Abstain?
Okay. Thought this council was much more supportive of our downtown businesses, but clearly we showed that tonight, that we're not. All right, we have discussion. No items there. Staff updates. Ellie?
No updates.
Jolene?
Just wanted to say a quick thank you to Dave and to Kyle for bringing by these trees that are out in the city center lobby tonight to spread some holiday cheer. It's just much appreciated that they took the time to do that today, so I just wanted to say thanks for that.
Abby?
Planning Commission meets this week. They're going to be looking at zoning amendments. One is to consider allowing for cell towers in our single-family residential district. So that will be coming before you, their recommendation will be coming before you in January. They're also going to start reinvigorating zoning ordinance amendments, really starting with processes and procedures. As a reminder, we started this process a few years ago, just, development, staffing transitions, getting back into it now. Included in your weekly update, but just wanted to announce for the public that the Building Inspections Division is reviewing right now a new restaurant, so Haas Cafe, that's going to be going in near Cub. And then we have a new donut shop. I don't know if their name is trademarked, so I won't say it out loud. Soon to be opening at the end of the month. So got a few new things that'll be happening in the next, or through this winter. That's pretty exciting.
Dave?
Just one update. I want to thank Public Works staff, Kyle, all the volunteers in the chamber for putting on a great hometown holiday. Kyle estimated there was 800 to 1,000 people that showed up for that event. So that's crazy how that's been from a few years past to that big event. So he's excited to throw some more things in it for next year. So still stay tuned. You never know with Kyle. It'll be interesting. That's it.
Thanks. Chief Newman?
No updates.
Chief Peterson?
No updates.
Amanda?
No updates.
Mark?
Just a quick thank you to our 3 unions that we approved contracts on tonight. Excellent debate with them and just a great bargaining table atmosphere. Had very good cooperation at the bargaining tables this year. And we've got 2 left to go and we're hopeful we can get those in time for your next meeting. So.
Councilman Miller?
Again, echoing what was said here earlier regarding the holiday tree event. I thought that was an exceptional event. I would like to thank all the sponsors and the city for all their hard work.
Valento?
Couldn't agree more for hometown holidays. It's, as Dave mentioned, it's really exciting to see that event just continue to grow. And everyone put on their snow pants and playing out in the snow. It's very fun to see. I'm excited to see what Kyle comes up with for next year. I heard some of his ideas, so that'll be exciting. And I just will be planning to attend earlier throughout the coming years, because it's just so fun to see like how many cups of hot chocolate that we went through was, I don't know the number, but I
I
heard.
think they ran out
Yeah, we ran out.
pretty early, yeah.
25 gallons was
Yeah.
made.
Yeah, which is just crazy to think of, but it's very exciting to see everyone come out on a cold day and us celebrating, and very exciting for the future. Oh, and thanks for all the hard work for the budget. I know that's not easy, and we start super early within the year, and yeah, I just want to say thanks to the staff and all the hard work that goes into that.
Councilmember Erickson?
No additional updates other than kudos on hometown holidays went off very well.
Councilmember Larson?
No updates. Again, just thank you for everything with the hometown for holiday situation. Appreciate your help.
Right, I have nothing. Anyone willing to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or adjourned?